Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Jönköping, Sweden. This is where DreamHack Summer is currently taking place, and this is where we're going to find out who will be advancing to the playoffs for the Heroes of the Storm Summer Championship. We have a massive prize pool. In fact, it is the biggest one that we've ever had at DreamHack Summer. $500,000 ready for the taking, ripe for the taking. And we have another best of 3 series coming up for you here in the venue where there is an amazing crowd. It is going to be between eStar Gaming, China's #1 team, against their Taiwanese brethren over there. I mean, they are a smaller team, PBA, so to speak. They're very close in terms of regions, but in terms of skill, we will have to find out if that is the case. PBA, a team that has surprised a lot of us, but is it going to be enough to hold their own against a powerhouse like eStar Gaming, J-Hao?
If it's going to be enough, they're going to have to play out of their mind. I mean, they're literally going to have to take their game and step it up another 10 notches. I mean, the fact that they're going up against eStar, I mean, their name speaks for themselves as far as what they've been able to pull out. Gilly, I know this is a team that you've studied a lot. I mean, this is a terrifying sight for PBA to be walking into.
I am so excited that I get to be here for this match because it's been a bit since we've seen eStar, and we really haven't ever seen them in their final form, and I know we're going to talk about that more, so I'm just so pumped to be up here with you guys.
Yeah, likewise. Again, I haven't actually been at a tournament with eStar alongside, so considering that I believe that if they'd have had more international experience, they would be the best team on the planet. Well, and we haven't seen them, as you said, in this final form. I think high hopes for eStar.
Yeah, it feels a little bit like Christmas, guys, because we are actually going to be able to cast and present to you games of eStar Gaming in a form, like Gilly mentioned, that we've never seen before. But before we do that, we actually jump to the road of Summer Championship. Of course, there's a lot of regions that were present in the qualifiers and in the regionals. They all send their strongest teams to compete. Some of them already out of the tournament, Gale Force Esports, for example, or Big Gods from South America, but some of them still going strong, especially Naventic from NA. They are the only remaining team from this region, and they are struggling, but they're still fighting for their lives for sure. Now, let's get back to eStar Gaming, Gilly, and talk a little bit more about their roster changes. Many people didn't even know what roster they would field in this very tournament.
Yeah, we were also wondering what roster they were going to bring in, and a lot of that came down to with Edward Gaming breaking up. They brought in apparently a couple of members, but we weren't sure how that was going to go down. But for a long time, they have had Zhao T, who has been the founder, the leader of the team, and they weren't able to play with him at the Spring Global Championship because of some health issues. And they couldn't go to BlizzCon, even though they had qualified because of some visa things. So this is it. This is the time that we see them in their final form internationally. And guys, I am losing my mind. I'm so pumped that we get to see it.
And on the flip side, though, we have the Dark Horse PBA, but are they really dark anymore at this point, J-Hao? Because we mentioned it, they have strong plays, and they should be familiar with the playstyle of Chinese teams due to the vicinity of their regions, right?
Yes, there was something when we interviewed them just the other day, though, where the gentleman that we interviewed said something about the fact that they were just hoping to qualify. And then they talked about being tired, and I hope that they've got their rest, that they've regrouped and kind of strategized, because maybe they didn't even expect to be here. And now that they're here, hopefully they're able to say, hey, we should be familiar with this, and maybe we can do something with it.
That probably exists. For anybody who maybe didn't tune into the first group stage, they were actually the first team of the smaller regions to ever qualify for this stage on this global scale. So that's quite impressive for them in itself. But as you say, you know, they're potentially the dark horse, but it is a very tall order to go up against the regions, the stronger regions, top teams. It's a big deal.
And it really is the top team in China, right? Like, we saw Edward Gaming be able to beat eStar for the first time at the Spring Global Championship, but they didn't have Zhao T. So again, I go back to it. They have been the top team in China for as long as Heroes Esports in China has existed.
Definitely. However, guys, we are now going to take a look at how, you know, a little team like PBA has prepared themselves, and they have grown into a force to be reckoned with.
当然还是很开心能来到这边啊，因为毕竟第一次晋级。
PBA making the placement at full set. The Divine Shield is used. He escapes once more. Gale Force in full retreat now.
能晋级本身就是我们团练的练习量要够，然后就缺点要互相沟通，然后团队合作要 要做好才能晋级这样。
Here comes the snipe attempt. It's so low. This could be it. On one hero down, force the dice as well, but the quest already at 70%. Can they really take it out?
对我来说，就是从小到大的梦想就可以实现，这样就很重要。因为会打电竞也是看别人拿到世界冠军才开始打游戏比赛。
Right, it is absolutely wonderful to see a team growing like this, especially on such an important international stage, guys. PBA, they are not afraid to pick exotic heroes on paper like Tracer, and although it didn't work the first time, Jay-How, they adjusted immediately and won the game or the series after all.
I think one of the cool things about them is that individually you can see the talent exist. Individually they're
Especially
all
on
able
this
to
guy.
make plays. Yeah, I mean, we've seen it in play. Again, they've had their stumbling blocks, but as they come together here, this is Heroes of the Storm, to where if you make one good play, it can turn an entire game around, and it gives you an opportunity. That's why I love the fact that they have a chance regardless. It is a tall order, James, but this is an opportunity for them to take it.
Yeah, there was the interesting patterns that we ended up picking up during the first group stage. They had a weird fear of Zeratul. Actually, I say weird. Zeratul's actually really strong, so I shouldn't take that away from them. But they were banning out in certain situations where it was a little bit more odd. Here is Baphomet as well. I was liking to see him. The interesting thing is that, again, this roster can field wilder choices. Like Vikings isn't something that's out of the realms of possibility for PBA, even though we see it kind of maybe 5%, 10% of the games if they actually get there.
Yeah, and you mentioned Baphomet. I mean, he's a support player that you cannot disregard. I actually really liked his performance, and we see a similarity to other teams where the support players are often the crucial backbone of their team. And Zola, of course, also being a very strong performer on the assassin role. And last but not least, I have to say that overall, their team synergy was really what surprised me, although their communication isn't the loudest.
Right, their team synergy is so good even though they're a new team because they have 3 members of the previous team representing Taiwan on the global championship. And then they brought in 2 other people that they had played with each other on different varying teams. So they just came in and were able to instantly have good synergy together, even though generally when we see a new team, that's not something, that's something that really takes time. And it's been great to see them be able to use that and get to this point.
However, now we're going to have to take a look at their Chinese counterpart, a big name on paper, eStar Gaming. Many people consider this team to be one of the favorites when it actually comes to winning the entire tournament. Second to MVP Pack, probably one of the biggest horses in here. Also, they were able to prepare themselves, and they will tell us how their new roster is going to function.
就是我们组建 eStar 以来，就是我在电竞行业也连数比较久，因为我们挑选的队员都是非常有天赋、非常年轻、非常厉害的队员。然后我们每天的训练量是10到12个小时，然后我们很勤奋，我们有着就是共同的目标，所以说我们可以战胜我们对手。对。
这几天多训练一下节奏，然后尽量用快节奏的打法去击败他们。
就是我从小的梦想就是当一个职业选手，然后我做到了，然后我的职业选手的梦想是拿世界冠军，所以说每一个世界舞台对我来讲都是我的一个梦想。然后这一次过来，我们的目标也是世界冠军，然后对我来讲的话，它的意义非常重大。我希望在这个舞台里面可以展示到自己，展示到eStar。
Those were the Dragons coming in from China, of course, eStar Gaming. Not only did I like NCCC's shoe game here, but
you would.
I've seen them live in action yesterday, and I was baffled. But can you tell us more about Zhao T and NCCC and why they're such an important component of this new roster?
All right, so Zhao T and Naicha actually used to play the opposite roles, and sometimes on occasion you will see them switch back. Now we have Zhao Ti playing the melee flex role or the second warrior. Naicha, he plays the warrior primarily, but again, they can switch. They both they're both very strong leadership. That's actually Xingxi. But yeah, they both have like really strong leadership. And it's specifically in Zhao Ti, his leadership ability, the fact that he founded the team and he is the heart of them, and he and Naicha just, as the front line, stick together so well and combo and pair together, and that allows the rest of them to really follow and be strong behind them.
10 to 12 hours of practice, Heroes of the Storm, every single day. Maybe every single day. But the fact that they're getting that much time in is showing. The fact that they've come out and they've been able to get to this stage at the level that they have, I mean, that's what we might see the difference between a team like eStar and their counterpart in PBA.
Yeah, welcome to a world where disciplined action and kind of being able to focus your mind on things so well is rampant in this kind of scenario that we're seeing from eStar. They've sat at the top of their region from the dawn of time onwards. The only time they properly had strong challenge is when AVP Black decided to come over and invade. And was like, actually, we want first place.
A little bit of a Korean raid over there, and then they were gone again, and everything was back to normal pretty much. Good point there, definitely, James. Now, if we talk about China and Taiwan, regions that are very close to each other, do we actually expect those teams to play a similar game style, Jaehao? Do you think that's going to happen?
Not necessarily. What we saw at a PBA was more of a very just traditional approach, in that they'll play the camps, they'll choose their fights when they have. But as we heard in the interview there was the fact that they said that eStar said they wanted to be a very aggressive team, that they planned on being aggressive. We're going to see if they're able to execute that type of aggression that they want to have planned.
So PBA seemed to be in a position where they, even going into drafts, they were all about control, control, control. Their top picks were Muradin by far, Falstad was up there very highly, then Thrall and Sonya, things like that. So they're looking for a strong front line to build off, and then even potentially the control from Falstad. But Muradin as a whole, he's been one of the top first picks in the tournament. I think 26% across the board as first pick. So there's no surprises there, really.
And now we see one of the crucial moments when it comes to getting a best of 3 started, which is, of course, the map vetoes and bans. So we're going to take a look what the first battleground is going to be between PBA and eStar Gaming. And it is going to be Battlefield of Eternity, Gilly.
If they're wanting to bring aggression, I can think of no better place. There's so many team fights that happen here because of that very long objective to capture, as well as the fact that there's this very big area in the center where there's vision is just so important because the lanes are so far apart from each other. So if eStar's wanting to get into a fight, I can understand, but it's actually PBA's pick too.
Yeah, and that's kind of interesting to me because I have to kind of phrase it like this. It stood out like a sore thumb to me in the earlier stages when they were going up, PBA was going up against Gale Force Esports, that their camp control was not on point. Around the 5 or 6 minute moment, they lost both easy camps. Their hard camp on the other side was taken, timed out nicely against the Immortal, while they took none of that and didn't take their hard camp. They need to oil everything about their play on this map to go up against eStar, because eStar is not going to slip up in those regards.
Actually, PBA didn't make a secret out of it that they were not feeling as comfortable on Battlefield of Eternity as on other maps. However, they were mainly playing teams from other regions whose playstyle they weren't familiar with. You know, we mentioned that earlier. Chinese teams and Taiwanese teams, they like to team fight all the time and just go aggression, aggression, aggression. However, against American and European teams, they had to sort of go through a poke battle here. Do you think that this will be more of a comfort zone to play against eStar Gaming, Jaehao?
I don't know. This is actually the one map that I fear most for them, the fact that they did have their struggles. And their struggles showed, as Claire had already talked about, but there were some more things when it came to some of those team fights. They were over-aggressive. This is the map that they had Tracer on. They over-committed on certain fights, and they paid for it dearly. So can they be able to learn from that experience and to be able to take it to the next level is the thing, because they did struggle on this map.
What I will tell you is that one of the things, if not the thing that I like most about eStar, and that is one of their biggest strengths, is how they can manipulate team fights. I see them wait and wait and wait, and they say they want to be aggressive, but they know when. Exactly when to turn on that aggression, and they will pull their opponents apart. And that's one thing that I saw PBA struggling with in their regional specifically, is that if they can get pulled apart, then they're struggling in their team fights. It's hard for them to get back together.
So you could say that they're strong as a unit, but as soon as you manage to isolate a single member from eStar Gaming, that might be the chance for PBA to collapse on them?
Kind of the opposite. I'm saying that if eStar can do that to PBA,
right,
then that's going to be very tough, yes,
Good.
for PBA specifically.
At the same time, though, when I looked at, I mean, going from the priorities that we see PBA go for, I actually looked through my notes again and noticed that the majority of their bans, aside from getting rid of Illidan, which is just kind of a given, like you just don't burn through, that most of the time they were banning out things like Thrall, things like Sonya, things like Zeratul. They don't want to enable their opponents to have those stronger melee engagement tools beyond the side of a tank or a warrior per se. So it's interesting to see that kind of thing come out and just try and see that control appear in the draft before the game even begins.
I mean, game number 1, they went up against a Zeratul, MVP Black.
Yes.
They didn't like it too much.
They're like, we don't like this. And they banned it out basically every other game beyond that. And the one game that they did let it through, Battlefield of Eternity, and it basically took care of their Tracer play, and you saw like a lot of what happened. So we're going to see if that trend does continue, as you just talked about, but Zeratul being the number 1.
It's funny that you mentioned that, J-Hell, because some of the lesser-known teams, they actually took a little bit of MVP's Black's drafting style and incorporated into their own approach on how to draft before a game. Do you think we can see a similar approach, maybe an early Murden to stop that aggression from eStar Gaming?
Well, I mean, the one team who takes out eStar is actually MVP Black, so maybe that will be what helps PBA get there. But for now, eStar are going to ban Tychus. That's an interesting one.
Not what I expected at all.
Do you think they're planning for possibly a double warrior comp? I mean, they're known to do this.
Yeah, they do like playing double warrior, and that's a definite potential. It's not something that I think we've ever seen PBA play, but it's something that eStar likes to play and other Chinese teams.
To your point, though, coming into this tournament, I felt that double warrior is going to win the tournament.
Yeah.
So if eStar believes similar, then they may end up starting running that and trying to ban out similar things to it that do cause it issues. I'm very excited to see how this is going to develop.
And of course, the Greymane being first picked here, not a big surprise. We've mentioned it during the first group stage as well, that he's just ever so strong when it comes to rending down those immortals in the middle.
What a surprise. Muradin Falstad. Go, go, go.
eStar loves to run this comp that has Greymane, Uther, and Tyrael, and then they just make Greymane invulnerable for so long. They even take Bulwark of Light to extend that 2 more seconds, and then he just wrecks everything while he's invulnerable for forever.
Gilly, this highlights exactly what we talked about as far as not knowing just to fight, but when to fight. And when you have Greymane, he can play the poke war. And then the minute he hops into Worgen form, he's able to go in. But as we've seen throughout the few days, ETC Kael'thas is a possibility, as they're going to go ahead and pick up ETC. I wouldn't be surprised if they pick up Kael'thas here and capitalize on it.
By the way, Xingqi's Greymane for eStar is something that in Super League, after MVP Black beat TNL, Sake credited Xingqi for his great Greymane play, saying, we went up against eStar, Xingqi's Greymane was amazing, so I started working on mine because I wanted it to be that good. So expect some very stellar Greymane play during this game, guys.
Well, we can't wait to see that one live in action, of course. Also, we have to mention that Battlefield of Eternity is a map that is notorious for some pocket strategy picks as well, like an Abathur, for example, like an Nortannis even. Do you think we will see something out of the ordinary here, James, as well?
I mean, to extend on that, even things like Lunara's, Tyranda's
Lunara,
very strong on this map. I would be surprised if we see a lot of that. Sonya's going to be banned by PBA. I'm kind of surprised by that. I was expecting them to try and pick it up.
Yeah, they were prioritizing her a lot in the first group stage, along with the Muradin Falstad.
I almost feel this has to be an opportunity because Thrall's still going to be on the board. I almost feel like if they want to try and control that front line, that's exactly what they're going to need to do, either with Sonya or Thrall, if it makes it through this ban phase.
But the Sonya ban alone now makes me think that PBA from last tournament to, well, I say last stage to now, has slightly changed up what they're wanting to go with. They didn't mind too much about contesting poke walls on this map. They were more happy to have a front line like a Sonya, etc. So maybe we'll see a bit more poke come out of PBA, maybe coupled up with the Thrall, let's see.
I still think that eStar will likely go for a double frontline. Zhao Ti and Naicha, they want to be able to combo them and have that strength. And there is the Thrall pickup for PBA. And eStar have so many, they have so many heroes that they can play along with that double frontline. Zhao Ti even likes little Arthas sometimes. And it's Battlefield of Eternity.
All right. It's really cool to see how these teams from the Asian regions are prioritizing other heroes than, for example, the European ones or the NA ones. We mentioned it, no Li Ming, no Kael'thas. What is going on here in terms of assassins?
I mean, here's another thing I want to point out is the fact that Uther was banned out after Rhaegar was picked up. Again, it's choking those supports. You picked up Tyrande. Of course, the Hunter's Mark is going to get value on the Immortal, but Greymane can blow up a hero. You have to pair somebody. It can't be something like a Malfurion again. And if you go with Morales, you have to have some type of protection. I'm not sure if they necessarily have that with this comp. So right now, just that support ban alone changes the dynamic of this fight already.
We're still waiting on a pick likely for Zhao Ti as well as Toomey. Sylvanas is a very great hero on this battleground. I think maybe we could possibly see Sylvanas come out from them. Just in general, Chinese teams really like to play Sylvanas, even playing her in the Spring Global Championship before she had her rework.
Can you elaborate why she would be such a good choice on this map in particular?
Yeah, because if you can get the objective, she could shut down the structures, which means that you'd have no structural defense to help you take out the Immortals that are pushing. But actually,
wait a minute.
Is that are they gonna like damage Karzian?
I was gonna. They're just
eStar.
They're scrolling. But to talk about the Anubarak, I really, really like Anubarak's position in a double warrior meta. A lot. Like, we saw it as solo warrior before at Burbank, and we saw it a little bit before in the previous group stage. But double warrior, he hardly ever dies. It's really, really powerful. Coupling with Azul. There's hardly any poke. This is just straight engage from eStar. They just want to bring the fight to PBA.
Zul is one of their best heroes, too. They have a really good success with Zul specifically, and that's Toomey who does play him along with Sylvanas. So, again, specialist control, making sure that they can have control of the lanes, and more lockdown with this team, too.
I mean, no matter what happens here, PBA is in a very tough spot. They can't go solo Tyrande against this much of an engagement comp, but they are, and that actually blows my mind.
They are so heavily relying on Volstad to control the potential of them jumping on top of them. Zagara can help too, but man, the Gust's got to be good.
Where's the cleanse?
Where is the just gust them away? Just blow them away.
Where's the cleanse?
I'm not sure.
And this is tough. This is scary.
The reason why having no cleanse on this battleground is very tricky is also because not only the enemy team brings stuns to the table, but also the Immortal can catch people off guards with those stunning zones. So I'm a little bit worried for PBA here, guys.
I actually don't mind the Zagara if they're able to control the middle of the map and get creep tumors in the right spots for vision, and then in essence sort of deny the potential for them to actually hard engage onto them just by vision and knowledge alone. But I don't think that's going to happen, and I think eStar is going to force the fight anyway.
So here's the thing, too, right? Like, you look at their composition, and obviously PBA wins the race as long as both get there at the same time. But eStar just said they want to be aggressive, so they're totally fine with going in and attacking there. And that is just a terrifying composition for PBA to have to go up against.
The thing is, that front line, what do you even start focusing down? There's Zul, Greymane, ETC, Anubarak, all hitting you in the face, all melee, all day long. So actually, the Maw, in theory, could get huge value, but I don't know if eStar's going to let that happen.
I mean, you've got Zul who can go shade at level 1, then you've got 2 warriors staring down at you, and oh, by the way, if Greymane wants to come in, now all of a sudden they're right on top of you. I think PBA might want to just wait till level 10 before they try and fight anything.
If they don't take sprint on Tyrande, sorry, Tyrande, you're going to die. You're going to die.
The thing is also, I mean, on paper, as you mentioned, Kalaris, they do have some counters. They do have the Gust and the Maw to control this onslaught coming in from eStar a little bit, but it is so hard to execute.
That's the thing.
I mean, just let a Thrall throw in a Sundering there, and all of a sudden the positioning is gone, and you might not be able to hit the entire team.
Like, you have to be poking them down in that 60-second window where your Gust is on cooldown, and it's like, oh no, they came again, and they came again, oh no. We've got to run away somehow, boys.
All right, so I don't know. It's hard to call. I mean, we have underestimated PBA against Galeforce Esports, and they made it work. So even after dropping Game 1 potentially, it would be too early to count them out. And let's be honest, these drafts aren't nearly as one-sided as, say, Naventic versus MVP Black, right, guys?
I like what PBA
There's someone from
has,
NA up here. Come on. Wait till we're off the stage,
Don't you agree with me, James, here?
I'll say that I kind of like PBA, but this is being kind of generous at the same time.
Right.
I am very worried for the engagement potential that eStar has on their side.
Can we talk about what Kendrick pointed out in the sense that the Immortals have stuns around them?
Yeah.
If PBA opts for a more defensive approach, they have
the best bet.
They have some stuns that they can zone it out and continue to try and play. Again, it's going to be a little bit dependent on where the Immortals spawn, how their positioning is. So I feel that they could possibly rotate around that. And that could be
why don't you keep on talking, Jaehyun, and let us know who you think is going to take this very first game?
As much as I think that strategy could work, I have to go with eStar on this one without a doubt.
PBA has to play their heroics perfectly to constantly keep the team of eStar not together. I don't know that that's going to happen with eStar, so...
Once again, a little bit of a bias here coming in from Gilly
with these guys right here.
All right.
I
love it.
I kind of went try hard on mine, and my eStar logo is like quite on point.
All right.
Yeah, mine's not quite as good.
Took about 15 minutes, I'll be honest.
eStar here, but I will stick to my PBA boys. I actually gave him the favor against Scaleforce Esports, and hey, guess what? It worked. So maybe the blessing of Kendrick will prove to be useful once again. For now, though, we will throw it over to our casters, Todd and Kaldor. Take it away, boys.
China versus Taiwan, casted by the German-French connection. We have a great game ahead of us, and I'm excited for it, Todd.
Yeah, we did the PBA game last time, and that was a pretty crazy ending. Honestly, like this could have been Scaleforce Esports here taking on eStar, but it's not. PBA surprised everybody. They went for the back door, they got it done, but now they're going to face a very, very scary opponent in eStar.
Yeah, the game is actually going to be absolutely great. Going to see eStar here in action, of course. And one of the things that I'm also excited for is the particular style of the two teams that we're seeing to clash here, because there's a lot of talk to talk about when we're talking about the draft in particular. There's a couple of nuances that especially the PBA boys have been bringing in on the first day already. And they have actually been pretty impressive. They just improved from game to game, and they could show that again.
Yeah, after watching their first game, actually, I was very worried. I thought like they might be having a very difficult tournament and hardly had any chance to do very well, but they really picked up along the way, as you mentioned there. And it's a very interesting matchup here stylistically as well. We've got some niche picks. You know, eStar, they love Greymane. Zul as well. We almost always see them going for these sort of heroes. So even like in the draft itself, the way it was going, you know, the desk called Arthas, and I feel like it was a pick that definitely would have made a lot of sense. But at the same time, it's eStar. I knew it was probably not going to be Arthas as a third pick, and guess what? It wasn't.
I mean, already starting with the Tiger Span here, of course, because they want to play that double warrior frontline, which has also in the Western scene become a little bit more popular. We're seeing actually these days quite a lot going with NA teams and also with European teams trying to just like go for a bit of a heavier frontline. Tigers, he oftentimes thrives in that environment. We've seen him in regionals as well. And the teams have been actually scrimming with him a lot. But of course, nobody really put that high of a priority onto a ban as eStar in this case. And we haven't really seen too much of them. This is like the first time that they're making an appearance in this tournament. So it's going to be pretty exciting to see how they're going to fare here.
Absolutely. There's a lot of anticipation, I'm sure, for them as well. Now, for the people who haven't been, you know, particularly in esports for a very long time, you might not exactly know who Xiaoti is. This guy is an absolute veteran of the esports scene. He was a pretty good StarCraft player already. Moved on to Warcraft, was one of the world's best, China's best orc for some time. And he's just been always very competitive on Blizzard games. So moved on to Heroes, really good there as well from the very start. eStar for a long time, they were considered one of the only team, if not the only team in Asia, to properly give MVP Black a good run for their money and actually have some close games against them.
Xiaoti is definitely a legend, and I can absolutely not wait to see him play here. They had a bit of a problem with him not being able to play during the Spring Championship, actually. And this was also where we had this match between MVP Black and eStar. And back then, MVP Black was able to take it with a 2-0. Now they find themselves in the same group. We will see that rematch at some point, and it's going to be super interesting to see who's going to come out ahead of it this time, since, of course, eStar is hungry for revenge.
Yeah. And there's some more games more recently as well, about a bit over a month ago in the Gold Series. And they met twice. The first time MVP Black won 3-0, but then the second time it was only 4-2. And I say only 4-2, sure, that's a big score. That's 7-2 in total, but winning 2 maps against MVP Black, you know, not too shabby. Not too many teams can, I guess, do that successfully. And I'm looking forward to seeing here what they can do with this guy here on your screen, Xiaoti.
Yeah, and of course, especially in an offline environment like this one, this is going to be incredibly interesting how they're going to fare here. There's, of course, a couple of things that we have to talk about as well. Nuburak, in this case, we have seen him as a solo warrior in some of the matches already. My Insanity, for example, played the hero when they were facing Gale Force Esports. Had a bit of trouble at the beginning, was a solo tank for them. In this case, though, Nuburak takes over a bit of a different role as we're seeing him more as an assassin type. But the game, ladies and gentlemen, is starting up and introducing, please buff Arthas to the left side. Our Taiwanese team, we have Goddog on Falstad, Alpha on Zagara, Zola on Tyrande, Baphomet on Thrall, and Skrull is playing Muradin.
Starting on the right-hand side, playing as the red team, is of course going to be eStar, with Tiger playing the Rhaegar, Xiaoti on Anubarak, Tumi on Shul, NC on ETC, and Xingxi on the Greymane.
And that's one thing that I definitely want to highlight when we're talking about drafting. You might already have realized that there's a couple of heroes missing that you oftentimes see in North American or European games. There's no Li Ming to be seen, there's no Kel'Thas, there's no Lunara, and all of these heroes have one thing in common. They're very good at poking against the Immortal, and it's one of the things that we have been seen lacking in the games of PBA before, when they were facing Gale Force Esports, when they were facing My Insanity. And I actually talked to them quite a bit because they lost both of their matches on this map, and they got crushed here. And they actually explained to me that they have huge problems with that Western meta on this map in particular, since they're just not used to that poke style against the objective, since especially when we're talking about the Asian realm, they are way more used to just going for a full fight combo, and that is exactly what we're seeing coming out of eStar and out of PBA. So this is now all of a sudden a style of play that they might be a little bit more familiar and happy with.
Yeah, and I guess it's also a nice build-up to the matches that we could see later in seeing both of the styles clash eventually there. So
Sola actually talked about it quite a bit. He said that for them, it's really just trying to find a composition where they get a high-risk, high-reward fights. You really make the choice when you engage, when you go into a battle, and normally you end up with either wiping the opponent or at least get a huge kill potential there, take 2 or 3 down, or you yourself are going to be in trouble. And they were a little bit flabbergasted going up against the Western team and saying, like, they always move back. They don't take the fights. They just dance around the Immortal. They poke. We're not used to this kind of meta. They learned, of course, a lot from it. But that's one of the reasons why I'm super hyped for this game right now, especially with eStar going for a full engaged composition.
what do you think about the talent so far? Lightning Bones on the Rhaegar on level 1.
Lightning Bond is, of course, always a great talent on the map here because he gets some extra damage out against the Immortal in particular. So that can be always quite nice. You get the double Lightning Shield. It's a pretty valuable talent if you go for Rhaegar here. It alludes already to the amount of like siege damage that they want to bring out because they are going to be in a bit of a problem or a bit of trouble when we're talking about Immortal damage since we're seeing the Tyrande for the opponent's team, that Falstad, that Zagara. So right now, PBA, when it comes to the objective play, have a bit of an edge.
And Xiaoti tried to play a little bit too aggressive here at the top. He already lost half his hit points by overextending against Baphomet. He's going to have to play very defensive, I guess.
Especially since Thrall is such a lane bully. We're seeing now NCCC coming over here to try and maybe get a kill together with Xingxi now. And if they get that lockdown, nice dodge, well played by Thrall, really well done, gets free damage in. What a boss play here from Baphomet.
Even turns around right next to 2 more heroes there. No fear.
I got this. Really well done. I suppose that in this case, of course, his teammates also called that 2 heroes were missing, but that was a really nice reaction out of him. I kind of like that a lot. Very cautious at the start and gets a lot of value out of his Thrall at the top lane.
All right, are we going to see the full-on engagement here from eStar that you talked about?
They're going to wait for an opportunity to jump in here. The teams are, of course, not on level 4 yet. The game is going to change once again once we have the heroics in play. But you can already tell that the damage output on the side of PBA is pretty impressive here. They were able to catch up again. We actually saw at the beginning eStar slightly ahead, but now it's roughly a 50-50 trade.
Oh, they're fishing for the snipe. God Dog barrel rolls just right outside of the range here of that power slides.
No, well,
if they can fight next to the Immortals here, this would be great for eStar.
Yeah, well, they can try, but they have to be very careful if they're getting stunned. And there's that stun lock. The Immortal helps out. They kill against Thrall this time. Baphomet, not so lucky. Skrull jumps out right into the camp, nearly taken down by the Shaman.
Yeah, that was close. Almost died there. And the Immortal is actually very low here, is eStar. So they were gonna try to race, but now they turn around, almost like as if they had planned for it.
But look at it, like eStar already identifying that when it comes to a race against the Immortal, they have very, very small chances of winning it. So they're trying to defend here, and they're doing a good job at that. But they still are very far behind. The lockdown against Falstad, and he's down. They still go for the Immortal. Zola was trying to put some extra damage in with his Tyrannus. Scroll is still on the job, trying to go for it. They will get it, but at what cost? Thought they might lose another hero here.
Wow. They really wanted that Immortal there, PBA, and I'm sure they're going to get it, but they're one level behind now.
They have to make up for it by taking down structures, and I totally agree with you here. I'm not really sure if it was really worth it. They have now a level 4 talents, of course. That's going to help, but you can already tell that even in the way that they are currently talenting their heroes, they actually lost the Immortal even, that even in the way that they are talenting their heroes, they are not going for that Western style where you try to put more damage in. Sledgehammer, for example, missing on Mirrodin. They're trying to instead go for a standard Reverberation build here against that heavy melee engage that we see.
PBA showed some good patience earlier against Galeforce Esports, but so far in this match...
Zul actually died at the bot lane, so PBA, as you said, they show the patience, they see the kill against Zul at the bot lane, take him out, and that's all of a sudden a lot of experience that is lost to eStar.
They're gonna try to get a 5-on-4. Falstad flies in, and he's now just below.
Yeah, Falstad is here. Falstad with the damage. ETC is down. They're trying to save Baphomet. He gets away. Another stun from Zola. Alpha also on the way back. Gotthard with a barrel roll. He nearly got the kill against Greymane. Tiger goes in once more, but they are able to retreat. A slight lead in experience still for eStar as they have Zul now back at the bot lane, and Toomey is trying to go through the towers.
Gotthard was very deep behind enemy lines here. Had to start being a little bit careful. He could have been blown up, but ends up being able to pull back just on time. Tirande, by the way, went for Empower here on level 1 and now gets the Protective Shield on level 4 for a little bit of utility and survivability extra.
It's actually a very interesting combo. Usually when we're seeing Empower, then you go, of course, for Pierce to make sure that you get even more value out of the level 1
But
talent.
they don't have a proper healer.
Yeah, exactly. The reason why they are doing this right now is that they feel that a Protective Shield alone is going to give them more value than the reduced cooldown on their abilities. So it's a pretty interesting approach, but especially with all that lockdown that we currently see for eStar, it kind of makes sense. You really want to make sure that you have that extra shield for the target that gets stunned out by ETC or locked down by the Bone Prison.
Yeah, I think it was Jehao who asked a couple times in a funny way, where's the cleanse? And I guess we could be asking that question ourselves in some of the upcoming fights here there.
Yeah, that's the poor man's cleanse right there, the Protective Shield, trying to keep them alive for a few more seconds. The Lunar Momentum, on the other hand, trying to cater to the cooldown reduction for now. So they are using that at least. Besides that, though, we have also Wizened Duelist taken on the side of Greymane. And that, of course, means stack damage. They're trying to get that extra damage in with the kills. It's going to be really interesting how many they're going to be able to pick up here.
Yeah, eStar gets the head start here with those Immortal.
Well, once again, we're starting to see them jump in. Zul is still looking at the bot lane. Nice cam coverage here on the other hand. We see once again Scroll getting really low. Jingzi, on the other hand, has to retreat on his Greymane. And for Scroll, the passive regeneration is kicking in. He's going to be back in fighting spirits soon enough. Up to the top lane, Rhaegar with the experienced leech, and of course with the camp still active at the bot lane. Toomey had to rotate over and make sure that this camp does not go through the wall.
Yeah, I think they're just going to tap Fountain here, regroup, and then go for round 2. eStar was very poorly synchronized in that last fight. Xiaoti went for the burrow charge on Thrall by himself. They need to go for the same target here. And I think actually Zul is really delaying here the rotation onto mid to help and fight. They are trying to get ahead in experience by 1 level here in getting level 9 if he can.
Yeah, and at the same time, of course, also those hammer ranks that we're seeing from Gotthard give him increased damage. He's currently only at 34, but he can keep that poke game up quite long time. Here comes the engage as ETC moves in. They're going for Scroll. He should be able to jump out. Dwarftos should be up once again. Zhao Zi jumps in. Immortal helps out. There comes the jump finally. And the coverage with the fire on the side of Zagara.
ETC is getting chased on the left-hand side. He barely gets away. No, gets stunned in the last second. He got stunned one time by the Immortal as well. That's why he took so much damage here in the first place. So eStar messing
Really
up
well
here a
done.
little bit.
I like it. Stroll on his Mirrodin. You see that he actually thought about going back, but he stays in the fight. He got healed up, and his passive is so valuable for these long and like drawn-out fights. He got the kill against ETC. Here's the lockdown. The Mirrodin Tyrannus snipe combo is already working in their favor, and the damage against the Immortal is strong. They're doing a great job here. PBA with good action so far in this first map.
Yeah, it felt like they were standing in a minefield here though for a second with all of these stuns coming up from the Immortal. Looking to try and win that Immortal round here. quite convincingly, but eStar won't let that happen.
eStar is still trying to defend, but just look at that pressure. We definitely see a very different play from BBA now on this map. They played against the Western teams that are famous for their poke style on this map, and they have definitely learned from those matches. They're doing really well here, but they lose now Thrall. ETC dies. It's the 1-for-1. Falstad falling to round 2.
Level 10.
The heavy engage that we're seeing out of eStar allows them to go for a 4th kill as well. Very well done, and that is the aggressive game that we were promised.
PBA just not quite patient enough here. I think they just had to pull back, maybe tap the well, regroup for a little bit. They just want to get these Immortals as quickly as possible, and they overcommit to some of these fights. And they are paying the high price here for it. It's now 7 takedown to 4 and level 10 against level 9, more importantly.
They were definitely a bit greedy here, and with Toomey constantly at the bot lane, burning these waves away, the experienced lead was just ready for eStar to help them out during that fight. The hero kills, of course, also a huge factor there. But overall, PBA is really fighting back here. I mean, they are one of the underdogs in these groups right now, and so far they are doing pretty well considering.
When are we ever going to see Cocoon again, man? I feel like it's all about the Locust Swarm nowadays.
Yeah, Locust Swarm, of course, gives you the survivability if you're going to dive deep to survive for a long time. The extra damage that you can push out is pretty significant too. Cocoon, oftentimes used when you are up against an ETC and you really need that extra control spell. For now, though, they are pretty happy with the style that they're playing here. They know that long drawn-out fights are also going to put more pressure onto Tyrande.
All the ultimates are up.
Yeah.
They could have just engaged there, but eStar choosing to be patient this time around. They don't have to engage.
They realized they would lose that fort.
Zul?
That's the one thing that I don't like, that Zul was very much alone at the top lane, that they did not rotate fast enough to deal with him. But now they have Skrull here. They're trying to at least get their kill, and they might be able to pull that off. But eStar is already moving in. Here comes the potential kill. Toomey is still there. Here's Thundering. Once again, Baphomet is on the chase against Dräger. Moore is already out as well. ETC jumped in, was trying to go for the mosh, but it got interrupted. Zul is already down. It's a 5 versus 4. Another stun against ETC. The Ancestral hits too late. Stun against Dräger after Zul just died. They want to go for a Tiger. Baphomet is trying to cut him off. He might be able to kill him. Where's that wolf? He needs the wolf. He gets it, but it doesn't connect. And Tiger gets away. What a fight, Todd.
Yeah, barely here. And 2 eStar's members here went down, though. So definitely good job here by PBA catching that Zul the way they did. Maybe a little bit of a slow reaction from eStar, and they catch back up on experience nicely. Still a little bit of a gap, though, here that they need to work on.
When we're talking about experience, Zul currently has 10,000 experience points gathered. Just to give you a bit of a comparison, if you go to the second highest hero after that, it is Falstad. So it has half the EXP with a global ability. And that just shows, again, that Zul rotated away from the fights whenever he saw a chance to make that happen. And with the composition that we see for eStar, it's very difficult for PBA to capitalize on it in time before Zul is back. So Zul doing an amazing job keeping the team ahead in experience and in talent.
Wow. PBA so far away from level 13, Caldo. I'm really worried here with the Immortals coming up in a second. And eStar very nicely will grab that bottom camp as well before the Immortals are even up. And I'm pretty sure they might just aim to try and go for the fight this time. I mean, they've been doing it the entire game, but they've got even more of a reason now with being up 1 talent.
Yeah, I mean, look at those talents, by the way. Giant's Curse on Zul after he went for Truggle's Essence on 4 and Rotmar's Blessing on 7. So now he's going for the extra pressure against Muradin in particular. And Muradin has already received a lot of damage in all of these fights early on. This is going to make it even more difficult for him to sustain this. So a huge damage output that we're seeing. Also, Wizen Duelist with 4 stacks already. The fight is starting. Skrull is receiving that damage as we speak. Shao T low on his Anubarak. Has to move back. Popped ult now too. He has the Locust Swarm and they still fight for the Immortal.
Yeah, a lot of ultimates are still up here. A lot of these heroes being really patient before using those. eStar has been very good at pulling back, tapping the well, and then coming back to fight. But this time around, they are being chased.
Oh, the kill against ETC. They get that at least in. And at the same time, Zagara with it more.
That was horrible.
Yes, Skrull, by the way, balls deep the entire time. Like he's on 50% HP and he trusts Zola to keep him alive, jumps deep, gets those stun combos off. The level 13 just came in time for them to get that kill, and right now they are looking at a 5 versus 4 situation that might be enough to give them their first Immortal in this game.
But ETC will come back very quickly, and man, that more That was the panic move if I've ever seen one. Scroll trying to buy a little bit of time here. He should be careful, otherwise he's going to go down. Arthas or not.
Yeah, keep in mind, he also does not have a piercing bolt, so he can only stun one hero, and they just barely win the Immortal. That was a close call. The damage output that we see, especially from Greymane, is by now pretty huge, thanks to those extra 12% damage that he has.
There's not going to be much of a shield on that Immortal, let's just say that.
Yeah, and I mean, when we're looking at the damage, we're having now Greymane on 24,000. The only hero that was really able to do a lot more is Falstad. And this is that Falstad style that we've been talking about. It's all about the poke. The Hammerang right now has an extra 74% damage. GodDog has done an amazing job in his game to stack damage. It helps him to control the lanes. It helps him with the siege damage. And he's also very effective right now with a burst. Top lane pressure now, thanks to Immortal, as Falstad is getting ready to fly up top to help his team out.
Yeah, healing static here will be very useful for PBA on the Muradin. ETC gets caught.
Falstad flies in, he can go for the disengage, and here he comes. It blows ETC away. Mosh Pit is still up, by the way. Here the kill, on the other hand, against Toronto. That's the problem. eStar goes in. They get the kill against Muradin, and they're chasing Baphomet.
Greymane is having a field day.
Yeah, Greymane, the Wolf, goes complete ham here, and they take down their third target.
Wow, cleaning up completely here. The cleanse was on point on the ETC. Everybody got so good at cleansing, man. When did that happen? I feel like I'm still really bad at it.
Yeah, the cleanses are really on point, especially if you consider the amount of stuns that we have for the teams these days. And those cleanse, they need to be on point, especially with an ATC. If you pre-cleanse even, or you just like go for the cleanse at the same time as he slides in, you can even dodge initial spells once you try to establish the mosh pit there. In this case, we haven't seen it just yet in the game in particular, but that's always a threat, of course. Right now, what I really like, on the other hand, is how eStar is having these aggressive engagements. They know exactly when to engage, and they use it. They jump in with the Nubarak very deep. They have the Bone Prisma. ETC goes in, and he also has the patience to not immediately jump onto the prison.
Zol is doing it again. A little bit out of position, gonna take a lot of damage. Might be able to get back behind the wall. No! He goes down before he can even get out here.
That's the danger if you are running up against Muradin and Tyrande. If they at some point get a lockdown on you, you are going to fall, and that's what happened here. So PBA keeps in the game. And guys, this is just absolutely amazing. This game has already been so entertaining. We have 8 kills against 10, level 16 versus level 15. The next talent is just now hitting for PBA as well. And this is that Chinese meta that we have been promised. Fights all game long. Yeah. They're just going for it. It's not only about the wave, it's not only about the immortal damage. These teams, they want to take the big fights.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure we're going to see more here in a second as the Immortals come up now. Looks like PBA wants to fight towards the Immortal here of eStar. They're going to have to be careful.
That's what amplified damage on 16 now for Zul. That's going to help them a lot. Even the blood for blood. Once more, they're jumping on ATC. The snipe is there. Scroll is going straight for his own 16, using the stone form to keep himself alive a bit longer. They're pushing the Immortal once again, but here comes Jingzi. Shao Ti jumps into great Mighty Gust on the side of Falstad to save Tyrande.
I think ETC is overestimating his survivability. He has got 6 deaths already. Muradin gets out, and Jingzi tries to chase for a little bit, but doesn't quite snipe him.
The balls on Scroll with his Muradin. Like, he is so deep in these fights, and he's making it work. 5 versus 4, but a very good defense in the situation from eStar. They are buying time for ETC to come back, and PBA has to go back. They have to tap well, and then they can engage again.
Yeah. ETC is now back in the game. He needs to be more careful, man. He's been feeding here a little bit, you know. Don't want to call anybody out, but he's got 6 deaths.
Yeah.
Totally did.
ETC at that front line is definitely having a lot of trouble, no doubt about it. It's definitely one of the weak points that are running here right now, but it's also because of all these stunts. ETC is the one to slide in, to look for the engage, and of course PBA is waiting for him to do that. PBA finds themselves in a defending position for a bit, but they're trying to put the pressure on once again. Here comes that stun combo, the Immortal helps out. Falstad is down. eStar again with the engage. Baphomet already disengaging from the team fight. Going for the Immortal instead. Burn it down. That's what they're saying here. Even using the Sundering. Baphomet rushing away. Everybody just trying to keep alive. But Thrall is in trouble as the Bone Prism hits.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere, I think. They're going to chase him down and get him. And luckily, they got that Immortal. I feel like without this, he might have been game here for PBA. They would have gone down here with the next one, but it's actually got a lot of shields as well.
I mean,
that top lane is going to get cleaned up.
Yeah, but look at the top lane on the other hand for the blue team. Right now they're in a situation where they lost so much damage already, or so many hit points on the keep thanks to that camp. In this case, eStar was absolutely on point with the timing on the Shaman camp, and that was very important. There's also like two aspects to what Thrall did there. The reason why Thrall tried to run away is because he was trying to buy time for the rest of his teammates to get back to safety. The problem with that is that now they cannot push with the Immortal. Thrall's dead came back in time, but Thrall is dead for another 10 seconds, and this is why they're abandoning the Immortal completely. Immortal, of course, is still strong enough to take the fort at the top lane, and in the meantime, we've seen at the bottom lane another fort eliminated. Meaning, experience, still the same, but the threat against the keep is much, much stronger on the side of eStar.
It feels like eStar, they are so good at fighting and at winning fights in the middle of the map, but then they get caught in a little bit of a weird way, either with Zol being a little bit too far at the top or bottom, or sometimes ETC being too far at the front. That even Rhaegar he couldn't even reach him with one single heal there.
It's definitely one of the strengths that we see from Please Buff Arthas. They used it against Gale Force Esports as well. The second map, Sky Temple, Tacit on Gale Force side was actually always dying to rotations. The rotation game that we have for PBA is absolutely spectacular, and they've been showcasing it through the tournament. It's one of the things that really shines right now in this match, or in this first map against eStar as well. But the teams, of course, are now both aiming for 20. And I mean, Todd, right now, with the death timers this high, one fight is all that you need. Win a big fight and you're golden.
Shadow Stalk is used. PBA is going to move right in there. They're trying to find a good and easy target. ETC is there again.
Again, he slides away. This time he escapes. It's time for eStar. Here comes the poison over. Already Mighty Gust for the disengage. The heal is good though. Shao T still alive. Buffmate trying to escape here. Skrull about to jump out. Use whatever he has, but Thrall is down. Immortal announced. Worst timing ever. And the lockdown against Muradin could cost Skrull his life. Zagara is also dead. And PBA, they were trying to force the fight, but it backfired hard.
Did the Maw miss again, like really badly?
Did we have 30 extra damage by now also on Greymane? He has the full stack count.
Yes. The ninja moves.
Yes, he shouldn't escape here. There's no way he's gonna escape this.
Level 20 gonna be reached as well here for eStar, and they're even stealing the camp. They're stealing the camp before doing anything else here on the left-hand side.
eStar is putting them in a checkmate position at this point. They are playing a fantastic game here. That last engagement was brutal, and now we're having Bone Spear on 20, Storm Shield, which gives them even more sustain. The Bolt of the Storm on ETC, that's going to make his life so much easier. And he needs it. I mean, he has been dying all over the place, but still, with a Hunter's Blunderbuss and a fully equipped Wizened Duelist with 10 stacks, the damage output for Greymane is out of this world. He's at 62,000 damage already.
And Shao T with a rewind, double burrow charge, double impale. Sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Some of these fights.
This is going to be really rough. Very rough for PBA. They played a great game so far, but that last fight, it cost them too much. They were very close in kills, and they were actually on the same level as their opponent, but right now, eStar is definitely pulling heavily ahead in this game.
PBA had a great comeback against Gale Force Esports in a game they were doing really bad in. Can they do it again, Kaldor? Probably not with some backdoor, but I guess maybe some crazy fight in which they win very convincingly, then defend the Immortal, but it's gonna be really hard because eStar, they're grouping up. They know that unless they really mess up, they should have this game in the bag. It looks like PBA is just trying to play it the safest they can.
Yeah. I mean,
they might have needed to take a risk here.
There's absolutely no doubt that this keep is going to fall. The question is, can you save your core? Can you just prolong the game a little bit longer so that you fight another day, or are you going down in flames right now? Because that is a brutal Immortal. It was at 100% shields, and now it starts moving in. They're waiting for their 20, but PBA still doesn't have it. There's the mosh pit. The gust follows. They're trying to rush away for now. So far, so good, but the keep is already on half HP. Nobody died just yet, but 20 is still not that hot.
Yeah, every single ultimate was used from PBA here except for Avatar. They're trying to pull back to peel for each other. Falstad took so much damage. If they can fight on the core, it might be better, but Immortal will get in there, and it's only lost its shield so far.
Skrull is jumping back. He's barely keeping himself alive. Alpha is also in trouble, so is Baphomet. There's still no 20. They get the kill. ETC is down, but that Immortal is already on the core. The core is taking damage. It's going down to 60%. Finally, level 20s are in play. They're trying to do what they can. Muradin is also dead. It's a 4 versus 4. Core is being attacked once again. The Immortal is going to finish it. It's game number 1. eStar takes the lead against the Taiwanese opponent.
A rather convincing game, even though they got caught a few times. That was pretty clean. Their team fighting skills still there.
They tried everything. They tried everything to somehow come back. On level 20, I mean, like, the 20 hit so late, a bit sooner, and maybe they can just prevent the core from dying and have a chance to turn it around. But eStar was just too strong. They had beautiful engages. I really liked what we saw out of these two teams. That was a cool game.
Greymane finished the game on 86,000 damage on the hero damage. he had a very good day. He had a lot of fun here.
I mean, if you're trying to play a Greymane with a stack talent on level 7, the one thing that you're, of course, always looking out for is safety, right? You need some guys next to you that can help you out. And let's think about what he had. There was a Nubarak next to him. We saw also
there was
ETC
taking all the stuns in the face.
Exactly.
Dying,
ETC was just basically saying, yeah, you can kill me all day long. I don't care. As long as Greymane gets his damage in, I'm fine with it. Beautiful game for sure, but of course, guys, there's a lot more to talk about, and I cannot wait to hear what our analysts have to say about game number 1.